Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I want to welcome you guys to Changing Trends and Times. I'd like to start this stream off by doing a Black History reflection about Carter G. Woodson, and I would also like to start with an opening monologue. The Black History reflection for Carter G. monologue for Carter G. Woodson goes like this. Before we move forward, we pause to honor a visionary whose work reshaped how a nation understands its own story. Carter G. Woodson believed that history is not just a record, it is a tool of empowerment. He understood that when people know where they come from, they gain the strength to shape where they are going. Woodson challenged a country to confront the truth about its past and recognize the contributions, achievements, and resilience of those too often left out of the narrative. His work was not simply about documenting history, it was about restoring dignity, correcting the record, and ensuring that future generations would never be disconnected from their roots. His legacy reminds us that knowledge is power and that understanding history is essential to understanding ourselves. In moments of uncertainty, his message still stands. A people who know their history cannot be erased, ignored, or misled. They stand firm, grounded, and unshakable. In this opening monologue, I want you guys to get more of a gist as to why I am doing this live. Tonight, we gather at a moment when history feels closer than ever, not as something behind us, but as something still shaping the ground beneath our feet. The past has a way of echoing into the present, especially when the systems built long ago continue to influence the lives we live today. We're living in a time when global conflict is reshaping alliances, economies, and the future of everyday people. The war in Iran is not just a headline, it's a reminder that decisions made oceans away can ripple into our homes, our communities, and our stability. At the same time, debates over citizenship, belonging, and national identity are resurfacing with new intensity. When the rules that define who is included begin to shift, it forces us to ask deeper questions about the direction of this country and the values it claims to uphold. And through all of this, one truth remains: the majority of people, those outside of the top economic tier, are the ones who feel the impact first and most deeply. Tonight, we're not here to fear, we're here to understand, we're here to connect the dots, we're here to recognize the patterns that history has shown us before. This is Changing Trends and Times, and tonight we're stepping into the conversation with clarity, courage, and purpose. So, first, let me start as I said to you guys in the beginning. This live is about why it's so difficult and why it's so hard to be a Black person in America. And I want to tell you that this is good. As I start to talk about this, we're going to be talking about the historical systems and the modern impact, the global conflict and the national ripple effects, as well as birthright citizenship rulings and what they could mean for the future. Now, when we talk about the historical systems, the systems that took place long ago are the ones that started when we had what they call the founding of this country. Well, we shouldn't say that there's a founding of this country because there were people here already. And when those people were here already, they were not only colonized, they were killed, pilferaged, and many things happened to them that caused them definitely harm that has impacted um, those generations of people for the longest. We're talking about over a period of over 400 years. And so when we think about that, we know we have to go along with what we know is racism. We have to go with what's known as slavery. We have to know about many forms of repression and what that has meant for those that didn't look like those that were here that have stolen this land. Now, when we talk about those historical systems, when they supposedly got here, they wrote um, what's that? The Constitution. They were and what they came up with as anything that did not look white was not considered an actual human. It was considered a fifth of a person, but it was also considered, they were also considered inhumane. They rewrote the history to say that those that are black were uncivilized. They acted like animals. Everything that they did was not what was considered to be within proper standings. They wrote the American historical story stating that royalty was what white people knew. When Anglo-Saxons came to be whom they are, the Anglo-Saxons were taught to be civilized by the Moors. When the Moors got them out of those caves in Europe, these people didn't know the first thing about being civilized. Some of them actually, there's like, there are pictures and things of that nature to state that they were basically the inhumane people. They were the ones that were violent. They were the ones that wanted to kill people. They were the ones that didn't know how to clean or bathe themselves. They didn't know how to eat food in a civilized manner. Now, the original kings and queens were those of African descent. They came from all parts of Africa, the motherland, the one that populated this entire world. And so when the Moors ventured out around the whole entire world, that is from Africa to Europe, to the continent here of what's known as North America, which is America, to South America, all of those places were populated by people with melanin in their skin, black people. They were the civilized ones. They were the educated ones. They were the wealthy ones. But what they did is they took the time to not be of violence and wanting to destroy people. Instead, they did the educating. They did the trainings. They tried to bring everyone into the fold to be sharing. But those Anglo-Saxons that came out of those caves were the ones that were always violent. They attacked, they wanted to take what was not theirs. And when they had the opportunity to learn some sense of culture, they deemed it as theirs. So they wrote this false narrative that all white people have always been the smartest people, the richest people, the smartest people, and everything about a growing civilization when that was not true at all. Rewriting that history has transcended over time, over 400 plus years in time. And people are still believing that these people were original kings and queens when we know that's not true. Now, stealing culture, stealing what's not theirs, has always taken place. And now it's gotten even worse. So now that we think about, as we say, changing trends and times, is that from that whole period of time that now the lie has come to light, that now is taking a whole new turn, a whole new twist. And when I say that to say, is that for all of the inventions that have taken place, not only throughout this country, but throughout the world, that were done by Black people, is not and has not been recognized at all. All of those inventions have led to fortunes for everyone but the Black people. Now, when they see Black people here in this country, and we have people here in our country right now today that see us, they still want to stick a stigma on us, making our lives difficult. Now, just so we understand one thing, after all of that time, after all of those things, we have still been able to make our way through all of that difficulty, through all of what's defined as what would be the something that takes place, that these people have, the best of everything, and we're still here. We are still here. We are still making strides, even though, as of we know what we know of today, here in this 21st century, Black people are still making first, which is unbelievable. But this is according to the history of what the Anglo-Saxons have written. Now, what I would like to understand is, why is it that some people are finding it difficult to recognize the truth, to deal with the truth, and want the truth to be what it is today? You see, these are the things that are happening today that's causing several conflicts, that's affecting so many people, but nobody's actually speaking to this. The things that are being said are not the things that are of power, courageousness, and wanting to be outside of what repression looks like. These things that are talked about today are primarily sticking with that story of who has always been the enforcers, the aggressors, and people that are always about tearing down. So what that got us to at this point today is that these very same people that are running around right now are bringing there are so many folk that have come here to the country that they're saying that Black is bad. They're still sticking to that. And the thing that's so hurting about that is, why? Why is this happening? Why is it so difficult being a Black person in America? My opinion is this, is that one, we have the inherent power and strength that no other individual will ever have. We still continuously to make strides, and people still try to counteract that with narratives that destroy us. And so, even in the process of doing that, does it really make sense to create a false narrative that we know is false and continue to support what's a bad thing? I think not. I think not. You see, it's gotten so now that we're in a global conflict. We're in a war with Iran. In the process of that war, again, the Anglo Saxons going out and creating an issue, a problem of wanting to kill people. So now we're in a conflict with Iran that's so unnecessary. Why? Why? Because you want to go and you want to take a resource from that country that they are totally disallowing and will not let happen. So because they are not doing what you want them to do or what you're telling them to do, that's wrong. No one can tell me that that's right. And those of you that listen to this, you know that's not right. But the one thing that's causing, I think, more conflict than anything is unity. That's all of our communities are not unified. Everyone is separated. And everyone is separated because of a narrative that the top 1% of this country has put out, and they're putting it out in order to keep people divided so they can continue to conquer everyone that's not a part of that group. And so while they're doing that, and we're continuously being divided, they're getting more. Case in point, in our communities, that is, I'm talking about Black communities. Our communities have always been hit by gentrification, incarceration, and oppression at the same time. Case in point for that, when we talk about gentrification, Black communities around this whole entire country of America sit on plentiful lands and plentiful popular areas around this country, especially in the major metropolitan cities. What has happened is because black people in those communities not being able to maintain communities of what used to be from yesteryear, not being able to maintain these communities because the wealth is not there. The wealth is not there because jobs are not there. So if they're not earning money, you can't control your community. There's not enough money in most people in these communities to purchase houses. Education is not as good as it should be because they under-resource the schools, and the people can't, and those that try to go into entrepreneurship, they always find a way of taking that away because you can't get funding financially to build your business and to make it as solid as you know it should be. Now, this is not just a problem of Black people, because I mean, there are other minorities, there are immigrants that have come into the country that some face that, but not all. But the immigrants have more of an opportunity than the Black Americans that are here and have been here. I mean, they get any kind of loan that's needed. They give them money and funding to buy houses, to start up businesses, and to be upstanding citizens. Where we're already upstanding citizens, but we have to fight against against the other minority groups and other folk that are not in that top 1%, and they all say Black people are lazy and don't want to do what's necessary. And we know that's not true. This world operates on the creativity of Black people. It operates on the creativity of Black people. How they do it is when you have your wonderful idea, you create what you create. They come in to say, we're going to help you to make you look better by going into a partnership with you and have you sign papers where they're the majority stakeholders in your idea. Now let's go back to again where we had inventors from the 20th century, 19th century, 18th, 17th, 16th century. Black people have been creating things for the longest, couldn't take credit for what they owned or what they built. It was stolen, and the people that stole them are the people that are standing at the forthright right now. They're standing at the top. They're standing at the top from what they stole. And they're still doing it today here in the 21st century. Now, what's causing, I think that my opinion is what's causing that problem really is the fact that in our communities, the Black communities, we're not unifying. And when we're not unifying, what do we expect to happen? Because you can do a lot, which is little. You can do what you need to do in order to try to sustain and to get your business moving. But your business is not going to have any growth because when you look for that funding, they find ways to not give you the funding. Now, what I'm also saying is that in knowing that, we do have some people that can help and assist. But when you're a part of culture where, there's like a rule or a law that you can't because you are a part of whatever this may be, you're refusing to help people that look like you because they tell you not to. But this does not mean that we still cannot unite and build what we need to build in order to make our lives that much better. Because unless we stop that crab in the bucket syndrome, things are only going to get worse. They're only going to get worse. It's the same as those white people, the ones that are not a part of that top 1%. You see, they have privilege because they're white. So they will get an opportunity or a leg up before somebody Black. They might not be as educated or as smart, but they get that opportunity. Now, do they take that same time to go and to help build their communities? I can't really answer that question because when you have privilege, privilege is privilege. Now, I will say, when you take that privilege and it turns into hatred, now you're starting to go into new territory. My suggestion and my opinion is that if we're not unifying, that's everyone. We all need to build our communities, but if we're still not unified as a people, we still got problems. I don't care who you are, what you say you've done, or what you can do. Everyone should be able to stand on their own merits. But that's not the case here in America, because that don't happen that way. I'm a Black man that's talking to you and letting each and every last one of you know, and a lot of us, especially people that look like me, know that this is no lie. But by refusing to do what he or she needs to do in these communities and to network in the way that we need to network in order to build these networks. When I say networks, I mean all across this country. We should be building networks. Building networks to make our communities better, to be strong, to be solid, to be unified, and refuse to be broken. Now, some people are afraid of what because of things that happened during the civil rights era, when we had people that were trying to unify and unite our people. You know, the Anglo-Saxons that controlled the federal government were assassinating and killing all black leaders. This was done to send the message that you will not unify. How long are we going to listen to that? How long are we going to listen to that? Now, I can say this. I don't think 100% of black people are about unification. And I've narrowed that number down to 10%. 10%, they'll never be about being black, unified, and strong. They're going to be about what's trying to cross over and be with or be about what white people are putting out there, disseminating, wanting to be accepted. This is not about being accepted. This is about being respected. This is about being respected. Our people being respected for what and who we are. Now, when I say that, that scares people that know that what I'm saying is true, it's powerful, and it's real. But when you got divide and conquer, that's seeping through several parts of the black community, it seems like that'll never happen. But I'll tell you this. I am one that will believe and do believe that what we do is going to always be for the best. It's going to always be for the best. You know, again, when folk run around here telling these lies that are being told and having people believe that black people are just going to be running around here and killing people, that is the worst thing I think I have ever heard in my life. That does not even make sense to me. How you come up with that, I do not know. But when somebody can figure out what that is and you know what that's about, please tell me. Or leave me some comments here in this chat. You can drop questions here in this chat while I'm doing this live. Because, again, this is about unification. You see, unification is what's powerful. Unification is what's powerful. I'm sitting here willing, able, and ready right now to this day to work with all of our people to help serve our underserved and marginalized communities, to build them to where they are supposed to be, and help people get the chance to do the things that they need to get done. I'm talking about building up families, building communities, even if it's necessary, building schools, because there are a lot of schools in our communities that are being destroyed and taken away because they say the schools are failing. The schools are failing because of the resource. That means there are no resources. The resources are very, very low, slim to none, and it's not survivable because it's the refusing of educating black young people. Well, I think we can do something about that, and we should. So as I'm going through this, hey, I want you guys to please leave me some comments and questions, but I want to know, what are your thoughts? What are you doing? Because there's several people around this country that are doing some of the same similar work that I'm trying to get out to all communities of building and unifying. How that's working, I really couldn't tell you because I don't know what that looks like from a numerical standpoint, from an analytical standpoint, as to if it's progressive or if it's failing. I really couldn't tell you that. But I do know that those that are doing this are doing it because it's a real thing, and it's what we should do. It's what we should do. And the thing that really stands out even worse is that for those of you that might not know this, or if you weren't really thinking about this, yesterday the Supreme Court heard the arguments of birthright citizenship. Now, this all started from the occupier of the White House, and I did not say president, I said the occupier because that's exactly um, what is taking place. And so, with that, now the ruling, if the ruling does come down in favor of the folk from this administration, then what that means is that citizenship for anything that's not white has been stripped. Anything that's not white, your citizenship will be stripped if the Supreme Court rules on the side of this presidential administration. And we all know that not only were we here, but we were born here. I'm not talking about immigrants, I'm talking about the Black Americans that were born here. And now having to take an extra step to prove that you are a citizen because your birth certificate no longer would prove that if they rule with this administration, your birth certificate is not proof. Now, what your birth certificate would do is that it would solidify who you are if you got a passport. And we know that, well, to my understanding, most people that look like me did not take the time to get a passport. Did not take the time to get a passport. So if you don't have a passport, but you may have a birth certificate, your birth certificate is not going to be enough. Forget the Social Security card. Social Security card don't count. If anything, if you got a birth certificate, now what we used to do when I grew up, when I was growing up, you had a Social Security card and your birth certificate, if need be, to prove that you're a citizen, if it was asked. But it wasn't asked. This is being asked now. And the reason why it's being asked now is because the lands around this country have been just stripped of all of its nutrients. Where they were trying to make this earth and this particular country in particular, they want to make it unlivable because the underground cities and the underground transportation systems, food and everything else that's there is only for the select few, which is the 1%. Now, what would the rest of us have to do if there's a situation that we all have to survive? So that's a warning to let you know that, hey, it's time for you to start doing what's necessary to prepare for survival, grow your own food, and stop eating some of these foods that they've got all of these preservatives in them. A lot of them is cloned. It's not even real. Now, and from the time that I've been on the face of this earth, and I'm coming up on my 6th decade, when had we ever have to think that we wouldn't be eating real meat and be eating cloned meat? That's a sad state of affairs. That's the thing that's causing all of the problems that's making people more and more sick. You go to the doctors are making you sick. They're making you sick because they're getting kickbacks from these companies that are making these faulty drugs that are causing everything to happen in your body. So we need to be thinking about health as well. That's all of us. We need to be thinking about health, because if we're not thinking about health, then we're thinking about death. Because what's happening right now is definitely not a positive thing. So as I was talking about these historical systems, okay, now, when I talk about, the oppression that shaped the economic system, the social system, and the political structures, this was all about a class system, is what it was about. And these systems created generational disparities that still influence society today. And so the unresolved historical issues show up in modern institutions, policies, and public attitudes. The importance of understanding history is to recognize the pattern repeating, for the newer generation. And we got to connect this to the present day because the concerns about inequality, division, and social tension are getting worse every day, every week, every month, every year. And that, with that being said, is that for decades now, these Anglo-Saxons have been trying to destroy the black population for the longest. Most of you don't understand that they had put in population control systems and mechanisms back in 72 when Nixon was the president along with the Rockefellers. Yeah, they had put these things in place where they were doing population control, where they were doing different things to kill off the population. And so that is taking place again. But this time, what is happening is they're doing it through these medications, they're doing it through vaccines, and I know that as a matter of fact, most people that look like me do not trust doctors because we don't see enough doctors that look like us, and every time we go in for medical care, people are always dying. Again, that's one of those systemic things that says black is bad, white is good. But those that know real history know that it's just the opposite because black people ain't never started no war. Black people have never went around to other countries just killing people just to kill them. Black people have never been here in America setting up catch-all systems to put people in oppressed situations in order to destroy their lives. That's never happened. That's never happened. Never happened. And so when we get to this part of how our schools and our communities are being destroyed and are being left under-resourced, but we're paying all these tax dollars, and people still act as though if they don't understand why is it that the black schools are the ones that are saying that they show as failing all the time. It's time to be real and stop playing a game because that game does not work. That game does not work. You have to see it for what it is and you have to call it for what it is. If you're afraid to call it for what it is, then that means that oppression is what you like. I wouldn't dare ask anybody to do something that I wouldn't do, but I will tell you this. I mean, as long as I can continue to speak, I will continue to speak truth to power because this is definitely not the 18th century. That repression and oppression just does not work. And I will have to continue to do what I have to do in order to survive. I know it's a hard thing, it's a real thing, but the one thing I remember growing up hearing people say that a good run is better than a bad stand any day. Well, in a situation like this, there's nothing but a good stand because that means that when it comes down to it, we have to look for things that's going to embetter us and make us better. And that's all I want to do. That's all I want to do. I want you guys to hit that subscription button because I need you to subscribe to this channel because as these lives come out, the lives are all about the truth and about things that we should do in order to build our communities. That's all I'm asking people to do. Because once we unite, everything is going to be fine. That's every community. Every community needs it has got its fault. Every community needs to make itself strong and build on that strength. That's every community. That's every community. I'm speaking more so to my community because we're the ones that's actually suffering more of the repercussions of things that are happening. And I'm sick of that. So I'm just asking, hey, let's do what we got to do. So when we talk about this war in Iran, okay, this right here is about, it's economic because we're talking about energy markets, economic stability, national security, and public sentiment. Now, when we talk about the energy markets, we know that the oil is in play. We know that America has bases over in what they call the Middle East, but I call it East Africa because that's all Africa. Again, stolen land. But with all those bases that are there, and with them going to Iran essentially, trying to destroy Iran because they want its resource, but they're refusing to give its resource to anyone. I don't understand that, and I need somebody to please explain to me how is it that you can tell a country what they can and cannot do, and you think you can go into that country and take said country's resources and they have nothing to do with it and they can't do anything about it? Where are they doing that at? I don't agree with that. I don't agree with war. I don't agree with death. Because I think if you consider yourself to be a strong person, then a strong person knows how to sit down, speak with people, and tell people in a debate how you feel and why you think what you're saying is right. Not going in just talking about you dropping bombs on people and killing people. That's not even necessary. But what's happening is all the supporters of the US that are over in that region, Iran is doing one thing that is causing world market issues. It is destroying everything that they have when it comes to the oil situation. They are vanquishing the petrodollar, vanquishing it, vanquishing it. And remember, they are not using nuclear missiles. They're using their technology, which far exceeds those that are attacking them. They are doing their due diligence of protecting their people. You don't have to like what people are doing in their house. Just because you don't like what they're doing in their house, that don't mean that you got a right to go in and say, oh, well, I'm coming in to regulate. No, that does not work. That does not work. And see, the economic stability is that what you have to think about is the world economy sits place and is controlled from New York State. That's where it sits. Now, as these markets have been unstable, going up and down, you got people still trying to get people to come and play into the stock market, go do some Bitcoin and doing all those different things. Me, from what I understand from a financial perspective, I would not be putting my money into any of that. I wouldn't. Because the instability is not for those that don't have the financial backing to continue to throw money at something like that. That's just not going to work. So if you don't have that kind of money, why would you be doing that? Because it's definitely not necessary. But also, when we talk about national security, and saying it's a national security issue, once you get into wartime situations. Now, I'm a veteran, so I understand that part. But we're in this conflict for a reason that there's no excuse for it, and there's just no understanding as to why we're in this conflict. This was done for one reason and one reason only, and that reason is not good enough because, being a lawbreaker and everything else, for some people say, oh, that's strong. I don't see that as being strong, because behind those kind of things are consequences. And in this case, especially being in a wartime situation, you're talking about lives being lost, and that's totally unnecessary. That's totally unnecessary. I don't even think that should be happening. Period. I don't care what the situation is. War is definitely never a good thing. But, that's just my opinion. And because I don't like to see people dying, that don't mean that is right. That also don't mean that is wrong. But that depends upon how people see it. But I think until you're in that situation is when you understand that. Because if you're not a veteran and have not actually served in the military, then you wouldn't know that. But I think it's time out, for actually trying to enact a draft to actually send people's kids in harm's way for the wrong reason. I just do not see that. I don't understand it, and I will never support that. I will never support that. And so the public sentiment on this whole thing is people are not in agreement with this, because those that supported the occupier or this administration now see the reason why most people that look like me, that 90% that look like me that didn't vote for him, now you know why. So, to FAFO, that is the wrong thing. This is the wrong time for that. This is not where we are. And we definitely don't want to be in a situation like that. So as I continue, as I finish each of these little talking points, I'm going to tell you guys, and I'll say it again, to please hit that subscribe button to this channel, because every live is going to always be about community building, our people, and what we should be doing to prevent these negative things that are happening. Now, we talk about this birthright citizenship rulings and the national identity. It is being said that, Black people are not, Black Americans especially, are not citizens of this country, and we know that's a lie. We were already here and we were born here. So this birthright citizenship thing is a real racist coup to continue the destruction of an actual people. Now, no one that looks like me especially has got any trust or belief in the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court has let this occupier of the White House run roughshod over the whole entire Constitution, this country, and given him rights to do anything that he wants to do. That is not right. That is not right. But the thing that continues that people should know about, that is from these political parties, because these political parties have got a major input into these things that are taking place. That's right, Republican and Democrat. They're all doing the same thing. I'm an independent. I don't trust either party. I do not support either of those parties. And I will tell you, just like the Republican Party is doing what it's doing, the Democratic Party does the same thing, but they do it in a different light. Republicans tell you flat out, they don't like you, they don't care about you, they want money, and that's it. Democrats are on the same agenda, but they want to try to come to you and make you think that they have your back when they really don't. Because for what all of them are doing None of them actually control their own destinies or their own rights, because when they're in the pockets of these people that are paying them to do their bidding, but we, the American people, vote and send you to DC, that's where the changes got to come in play. In each and every last one of our communities, I don't care if black, brown, green, purple, yellow, brown, whatever color you are, in our communities, we need to elect people in our communities that are going to do the work that we send them to DC to do. That's what we're going to have to do. Because if we don't, and you continuously send the same people back to DC over and over again, which you see some states have, some folk have been there for 35, 40, and 50 years, only to be paid by interest groups or other countries to bid that do their bidding here in this country, but you send them to DC. Now, you know, they say the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. When it comes to that political part, you can't do it. I'm telling you, we need to be looking at people in our communities that's going to do the right thing. And those are the people we need to send to DC so we can change this out. Because that is where the power lies. This is where your right to vote carries the weight that it has. This is why people died in the 60s for the civil rights movement in order for you to vote. But anybody that's not black will refuse to have the conversation and tell me, why is it that I'm not a citizen? They cannot tell me, they would not talk to me and tell me, why is it that the Constitution should not be changed to be inclusive to me when I'm an originator of this country, but you say that it's only about white people. Now, being the small minority, but creating a system that works for you, which makes you the majority, allows you that leeway. But my question is, how many people are going to continue to fall in line with that when you know what that means? You know what that means. But you all are refusing to do the right thing. You're refusing to talk about the right thing. That's not on me. That's not on people that look like me. That's not on people that are my ancestors that have died in years past. That's not on us. So do you think we say, oh, well, go and enslave these people because they want to be enslaved, and they're so stupid and dumb that they just don't know what's happening? No, we didn't just turn dumb because we're not dumb. You see, again, this is recreating your own reality. And when you recreate your own reality, that's only your reality. That's not everybody's reality. And when we talk about families and communities, like I said, and workforce stability and national identity, Black people are originators of this country. Now, once again, you're about to go, depending upon this ruling from the Supreme Court, because they took this up yesterday. I did not hear that they had made a ruling. So I don't know if they did or not. If they made a ruling, I have not heard it, but I'm not putting too much stock in them siding with the people on this, because they know what the real situation is, and they know what's true and what's false. Now, there's this thing that they call the philosophy of law, where we want to say that this person is so smart. They're such a scholar of the Constitution. They just so smart when it comes to the law. Well, they done twisted the law to once again destroy Black culture if they can. I don't trust the Supreme Court. I don't trust any part of the justice system at all. I will tell you this, I have never in my life been caught up in that system that they have. Never. And I'm about to reach my sixth decade right now. Never been a part of their system. I'm not in their system. Don't want to be in their system. But there are people that I know that are and have been. I'm so sorry to hear that for them, but that's not me, that's them. But hopefully that can be corrected. So when we talk about workforce stability, you know, we got some people that look like me that have been working long time and work long, long, long hours because trying to make sure that we're able to take care of our families. But it's just not seen that way. And when you talk about your story is scrutinized by people that, one, don't look like you. One, another thing, these people are thinking that they have a better opportunity and they feel like they're just better. I mean, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. But I'm saying to y'all this as well. Just remember, when you think about politics, you better make sure you learn to vet these candidates strongly. Strongly. You need to find out where they're getting all this money from that they're getting. You need to find out where they're getting this money. Because I can tell you this, they're not receiving money to help you. They're receiving money for them doing the bidding of these other folk. That's what they're doing. The bigger picture is unity versus division. And I say this, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, is that we all need to be unifying. We all need to be building our communities. We all need to know that we are not a part of that top 1%. If you're not a part of that top 1%, you need to be unifying. You need to be unifying. You need to be unifying. Because that top 1%, they don't have anything for you. Not anything. And so I just want to call to awareness and engagement here as I wrap up. And so I want you guys to know that I've discussed the systems, that is, the repressed and oppressed systems that are racist and have racism there to continue to cause problems in the Black community, really making it hard to be a Black person in America. It's continuing, and now it's ramped up to the fifth degree. It's ramped up to the fifth degree. And now we're finding ourselves trying to fight some other battle, some other situation that's not warranted and not necessary. I want to encourage you guys to know that this affects you as well. This affects everybody. And with that being said, we need to do what's necessary in order to fix the things that we're trying to fix. We really do. And we need to do this from a unified stance. I want you guys to share this live stream, if you would, please. Please share it. Share it. Comment. Subscribe to this channel, please. Subscribe. I need you to subscribe because this is not about me just getting out here just screaming out and saying some things. I'm telling you guys true facts. And you can go and look up each and everything that I've said. And you'll find out that what I'm saying to you, this ain't me. These are just facts. That's all I do. I just put them out there. I want to make you aware. so you are able to make your own informed decisions. You do not have to listen to me and follow me. Just take the points that I'm telling you and learn about them and make them work for you. And I want to thank the audience and close with this message of vigilance. And that is, let's all get together and let's all make this place a better place and do the things that we need to do. Now, I'm going to close this with my closing monologue, and that is, tonight we gather at a moment when history feels closer than ever, not as something behind us, but as something still shaping the ground beneath our feet. The past has a way of echoing into the present, especially when the systems built long ago continue to influence the lives we live today. We're living in a time when global conflict is reshaping alliances, economies, and the future of everyday people. The war in Iran is not just a headline, it's a reminder that decisions made oceans away can ripple into our homes, our communities, and our stability. At the same time, when debates over citizenship, belonging, and national identity are resurfacing with new intensity, when the rules that define who is included begin to shift, it forces us to ask deeper questions about directions of the country and the values it claimed to uphold. And through all of this, one truth remains: the majority of people, those outside of the top economic tier, are the ones who feel the impact first and most deeply. Tonight, we're not here to fear. We're here to understand. We're here to connect the dots. We're here to recognize the patterns that history has shown us before. This is Changing Trends and Times, and tonight we're stepping into the conversation with clarity, courage, and purpose. I want to thank you guys for those that have joined in on this live. Again, I'll ask you to please subscribe, enable your notifications, send me messages and comments, and I promise to respond. But I want you to know that we're in newfound territory, and I want to give you guys the information that you need in order to do the things that I think we all should do. You guys have a great evening, and I'll talk to you guys another time. Good night.